Hollow Knight Silksong is taking the gaming world by storm, and rightly so. It's exhilarating to play, polished to a brilliant shine, and jaw-droppingly gorgeous. I know that many of you watching this video are already playing the game, but there are others of you who have not played the original Hollow Knight yet, and you feel stuck at a crossroads. Should you play the original Hollow Knight first and then play Silksong, or should you just skip the original and play the shiny new one? Or maybe you have played the original Hollow Knight a few times and you just couldn't quite get into it for whatever reason, and now you're wondering if Silksong will be a different story. As someone who had a lot of trouble getting into the first Hollow Knight, but now loves it and has beaten it twice, I think I can give you a few insights that might help you make your decision. I've only put a handful of hours into the game, but I have already identified 5 ways in which this game is more approachable than the original Hollow Knight was. We'll go through each one quickly, and if you are playing Hollow Knight Silksong right now and you've identified something in this category, put a comment below and let me know what you found. Here we go. The original Hollow Knight felt empty, bleak, and lonely. Now, that is by design, and it's one of the many things that makes that game so great, not to mention the fact that a bleak, lonely atmosphere is one of the hallmarks of the Metroidvania genre. Having said that, I distinctly remember my first several hours in the original Hollow Knight and how I was playing it despite that bleak feeling. Now, eventually, I pushed past that and really fell in love with its world, but I know for a lot of people, that sense of hopelessness can really drive them away from a game like this. Now, don't get me wrong, Silksong is not the polar opposite of this. It's not some bright, cheery game. It still feels bleak. It still feels dystopian. However, not only are there noticeably brighter colors, there are a whole lot more characters to interact with. In Hollow Knight, the people you could talk to were very few and far between. Now, they were wonderful characters and super well written, but still very scarce. Another key difference here is that Hornet in Silksong actually has a voice and dialogue, whereas the protagonist of Hollow Knight was silent. This makes Silksong feel much more like a typical RPG, where you're listening to your character interact with the people you come across and have real conversations. Now, keep in mind, I've only played Silksong for several hours at this point, and already I have come across so many great characters. And if the trailer is anything to go by, there's many, many more waiting for me. The original Hollow Knight had a great moveset, but Silksong kicks it up a notch in some fantastic ways. To be honest, it feels like the difference between Shovel Knight and Shovel Knight Spectre of Torment if you've played those games. The original Shovel Knight has a great moveset, but Spectre of Torment added this element of fluidity and acrobatics that just made it so much more fun to move around. Silksong does something very similar here, where it takes an already great moveset and just upgrades it with amazing acrobatics and fluidity. The best part is that in the first few hours of the game, I have clearly only scratched the surface of the full moveset of Silksong. The trailers indicate there is a lot more to this, but even in the first few hours, I'm blown away at how much more fluid the movement is. If you found the original Hollow Knight a little bit stiff or slow in its movement, Silksong's upgrades in this department might just be the thing for you. Hollow Knight did the Dark Souls thing where when you die, you drop all your currency right there and have to go back from your last save point and retrieve it. If you die before you make it back to the spot where you dropped all your money, you lose all of it. Now, this mechanic remains in Silksong, but there is a key difference. In the first game, once you reached the spot where you died, you actually had to fight off a ghost of yourself to get your currency back. And if the ghost kills you, that's it. The ghost was always pretty easy to kill, but it also copied every ability upgrade you got throughout the course of the game, so it became more difficult to fight as the game went on. Most of the time, this wasn't too big of an issue, but once in a while, I would barely make it back to where my ghost was with just 1 heart left, and it would kill me and I would lose everything. And that could be pretty frustrating. In Silksong, this is gone. Wherever you died, there's just a harmless cocoon there. You hit it one time and you get all your currency back. I know this feels like a really small change, but it is a small step towards making the game more forgiving, and we're not done yet. Healing in this game is massively improved. Functionally, it works the same as the previous game. You attack enemies to build up a meter, and when that meter is full, you can hit a button to heal. Now, in Silksong, one button press will heal multiple hearts all at once. But in the original Hollow Knight, you had to hold that button down and wait for several seconds while your character healed one heart at a time. It left you vulnerable for an extended moment, so if you were in the middle of a fight, unless you had downed the enemy for a moment, there was pretty much no hope of getting any healing done. At least not without some augmentations. I have already found most fights to be much easier because as long as I can get off to the side for just a quick second, I can heal several hearts all at once and be right back in it. If the health and healing system in Hollow Knight was too unforgiving or tough for you, Silksong might be the game for you. I saved this one for last because I think this one has the most potential for helping new players not feel overwhelmed or lost. Silksong actually has a quest log. Now, I will say one last time, I've only played the game for several hours. I'm not super deep in yet, but already I have a handful of quests, and it just makes such a difference having some general goals to go after. When I first played the original Hollow Knight, I frequently felt lost and had no idea where to go next. The game would very vaguely send you off in a direction and just wish you luck. This game has quest boards in major towns and is full of NPCs guiding you and helping you with where to go. Just like the increased number of characters and dialogue, I feel like this helps Silksong feel more like an RPG, and I think that's a really good thing for welcoming in new players. The final thing I want to say here is that these 5 things do not make Silksong an easy game. Silksong is still tough as nails, pun intended, and will challenge you just like Hollow Knight did. But if we learned anything from Celeste, it's that a game can be extremely difficult while still making itself forgiving and approachable for players who might otherwise find it too frustrating. If you are someone who found Hollow Knight too rigid and too demanding, Silksong just might be a game that is as rewarding for you as it is challenging. So tell me what you think. Were you on the fence about which Hollow Knight game to play first? Was there something on my list that you think might tip you towards one game or the other? And if you're already playing Silksong, was there something important that I missed that you think new players might want to hear? If so, please put it in the comments. I would love to get the conversation going. Thank you so much for spending your valuable time here with me. Until the next video, have a wonderful day.